If you've seen some of my other videos, you may have noticed I use plastic pots 99% of the time. I use them for propagating, for our large wholesale orders like this, and to raise bigger succulents we sell at the markets. If it wasn't for the fact that plastic is such a huge pollutant, I would say it is an amazing material to grow your succulents in. It is so good I would choose it over terracotta for multiple reasons, which we will go over in this video. Don't get me wrong though, terracotta certainly has its advantages and can be the better choice in a few scenarios. Over the years of running my plant nursery, I've grown different types of succulents in both, and here are some of the pros and cons. This is where terracotta wins hands down. It has superior drainage and dries out much faster than plastic. Unsealed terracotta is porous and water will seep into the walls and evaporate. This can be incredibly beneficial for certain succulents that are prone to water-related disease such as edema or rot. It is unlikely you will overwater your succulents in a terracotta pot as the water doesn't have a chance to hang around for long. Those of you living in climates with regular rain will find this very helpful. But if you have a climate like ours, where summer temperatures can easily go over 35 to 40 degrees Celsius, this incredibly fast drainage or drying feature could kill certain succulents. Some succulents can store more water than others. For instance, this crassula is pretty dainty and can dry out in hot weather. Another issue terracotta pots can cause is hydrophobic potting mix. Basically, the potting mix can dry out so much it will repel water. The top of the soil will look wet, but the rest of the pot is bone dry. So even if you water regularly, the plants will just not get enough water. It can be fixed easily enough though. Just submerge the pot in a bucket of water up to the rim and let it sit for a few minutes. Plastic pots on the other hand will only drain from the bottom and hold on to the water for longer. This can present a problem during prolonged rain, but in my experience as a grower, if the potting mix is well draining enough, it should be fine in most cases. I say most cases as there are definitely succulent drama kings and queens out there that will poop their pants even when the rain is not that bad. But these particular plants really need controlled watering and a greenhouse or sheltered spot to grow well. If you're at all interested in what I would consider a drama king or queen succulent, I'll link a video in which I list plants that could be problematic. Planting your succulents in terracotta pots can have an effect on color and the way they grow. Because the plants are likely to be on the dry side most of the time, they will get stressed. Stress in succulents equals color and a more compact growth. While stress does sound bad, it is not necessarily harmful when it comes to succulent plants. You should, however, be careful during extreme heat waves and drought. Succulents can drop leaves as a preservation method when it's too dry. Stress may not be too bad, but it will have some side effects. Stressed and overly dry succulents will not grow as much as their regularly watered counterparts. If they are too stressed, they may not produce new growth at all. In plastic pots, succulents tend to grow bigger and less colorful, especially during the growing season. This is largely because they have longer access to water. Contrary to popular belief, most succulents appreciate regular watering. You just have to make sure the potting mix is well draining and is allowed to dry out between waterings. Regular watering and repotting is how I get succulents as big as this. Big succulents and clusters can be achieved in terracotta too, as long as you water and provide enough root space. The thick walls of terracotta pots can protect roots from rapid changes, which could help prevent shock when temperatures fluctuate wildly. But this can be a disadvantage during very hot weather when temperatures rise over 35 degrees Celsius. The roots will be exposed to heat for a much longer time. It's important to say that it's unlikely you need to worry about this if you live in a climate with mild summers. When it comes to a plastic pot, it has no insulating properties and can cool and heat faster. One of the main issues of plastic pots is that they mostly come in black. This can be a huge problem when they're exposed to hot sun. When we get summer temperatures of over 40 degrees Celsius, it is almost impossible to pick up and hold a black plastic pot. It's that hot. The solution could be to buy a white pot or simply move your plants in a shade or under shade cloth. I grow under 30% shade cloth, which solves the overheating problem for both terracotta and dark plastic pots, and it also prevents burns on the leaves. I really dislike repotting terracotta pots that have become a bit root bound because the roots often latch themselves onto the walls. The porous nature of terracotta allows thin roots to grow into the walls a bit. This means that the only way to get the plant out is to break them. You can run a cutlery knife or a spatula along the walls to keep the damage minimal, but it's likely you'll still break a lot of the roots. The good news is that succulents are pretty tolerant of root damage, but it is very easy to break the stalk and damage the leaves as you attempt to get the plant out. Plastic pots, on the other hand, are much easier as you can squash the walls a bit, which dislodges the roots. Plastic pots are always going to be cheaper than terracotta, especially if you buy in bulk. But terracotta is still very affordable and you can pick up a decent sized pot for a couple of dollars. As long as you don't drop it, terracotta is also going to be more durable and is by far the more sustainable option. Both are reusable, but do make sure to wash them before using again. It is very likely you can score freebie plastic pots. Here, people just stick them outside the gate for others to reuse, but I've seen listings on Gumtree and Facebook Marketplace too. Again, make sure to give them a good wash as you don't want to bring pests and disease to your garden. You never know what's in them. These days, it's getting easier to recycle plastic pots as well. Our council has a free plastic pot drop-off at the local tip. So at the start, I've shown you this comment I got on another video. There's a few good reasons why mine and other nurseries don't use terracotta pots. Firstly, it's the ease of use. Plastic pots are easier to handle, carry around, repot, and don't damage when dropped. We also use a lot of trays like this to raise plants, and you cannot get them in terracotta. The cost is an obvious one. Even bulk terracotta is so much more expensive than plastic pots. For me, one of the main reasons is watering. Our climate is not great for growing in terracotta pots as it can get very hot and very dry. Even though we have tanks that store rainwater, during droughts every drop counts. I'd have to run the sprinklers for double the amount of time and more frequently. And lastly, it would be difficult to grow big plants with loads of offsets. And we need the offsets to propagate. Some of the issues could be solved by buying sealed terracotta or sealing with a masonry sealant to prevent water loss. This is a good solution if you live in a climate like ours and want to have prettier, more sustainable pots. For me, it would still not be worth it due to all the other reasons I've mentioned. And on that note, it's time to end. I hope this video was useful. You can let us know what you think in the comments, and thank you very much for watching.